Welcome into the Holton Ahlers Show. The mastermind of the ECU defense, Blake Harrell, is here with us. Hope you enjoy the show. If not, as always,
Holton Ahlers turns, and Holton will take off and run himself. He's at the 40-yard line. Holton Ahlers to the 30. Look at him go! 20, 10, 5, touchdown Pirates!
There's local politics, bud.
It's showtime!
let's go, Coach. 1 week out, how do you feel? You ready to roll?
Yeah, I think you always, the excitement keeps building each and every day, all the way up to August 31st or all the way up to your first game. And then the closer you get, you realize how many different things, oh man, we got to do this, we got to do that. And like last second, you've been preparing for all like last 8-9 months and all summer long and all preseason camp. And then there's so many things that like last minute things, man, we should be prepared for this. And you really are. You just kind of lose a little sleep at night. But I think the main thing is our guys. We have some older guys on defense, and they're attacking it the way they should be. They've been here before. They've been through it before. And that makes you sleep a lot better at night for sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, those guys D-line have been there for about as long as I've been there, man. So,
yeah, they make me feel old.
good.
I feel like, they got their gray hair themselves, losing their hair just like mine. But, they're Chad Stevens, a 6-year kid. Tay, and Eli, and Surratt, all fifth-year players and older guys. And Sioban the other day told me he's 23 years old. So I said, holy crap, we got an old defense right here. So it feels good. So definitely, you say a lot of times you learn through experiences, and those guys have certainly been through the fire and been at it before. And for the most part, we got guys that are starting first, second, third year, and even the guys that we don't have, starting their first ball game come August 31st. They play a lot of football, so that's a good feeling.
You talking about Sioban, there's boards coming out of him going like 12th overall. Yeah. Like, how special is he? I knew he was special when I was there, but like obviously he's grown into the player that he is.
I just saw him, catch the ball. If he'll catch the ball, I think that'll be a big key for him.
Yeah.
I think he had a bunch of 12 PBUs or something crazy last year. And you go back, and we call it Katati. Katati is catch the ones thrown to you. So in the defensive meeting, somebody drops a football in practice, we Katati. And we talk about that all the time. We work ball drills, pre-practice, and ball drills. Because offensively, you guys are touching the football every day.
Yeah.
And receivers are getting, 25 balls a day to them or whatever. And, defensively, you don't see the football that much. So we spend time pre-practice and going through it there. So if he'll catch that, I'm sure he'll make a lot of money one day. And he's certainly a good player, and he's been through it. A year ago, we didn't know exactly how special he was. Now we do, but so do the opponents. So they know, maybe they're going to pick on him this way or pick on him that way. He has to stay focused, and he's doing a really good job of that, not worrying about the outside noise, not worrying about what this media says or this projection says, just staying focused on in August 31st. How can we beat Norfolk State? What can he do to help us win ball games?
100%. Coach, I remember when you came in, you brought like a swagger, like, and me and Jack, when he was hosting too, like we would always talk about how the Friday night meetings before games in the hotels, when it would be like Donnie would be in there and we'd be like falling asleep. And we love Coach K. I'm just joking on. We'd be like falling asleep in there, and you guys would be across the way, and it seemed like there's a club in there. And you brought like a swagger to the defense that is, spread through the fan base, but also through the team. Just talk about that when you came in. Like, did you envision it going this well?
I think you have to. Play defense a certain way. You have to coach a certain way. You have to run your meetings a certain way. If you want your players to play with juice, play with energy, we better run our meetings that way.
Yeah.
And that's part of just the hype and the music and the turnovers and, letting those guys kind of just be themselves. And I think they enjoy it. And I've always said this. I think, I was a high school coach, started out as a high school coach, went to an interview, and the principal asked me, it was a head high school job. He said, how are you going to make it fun? And I really didn't have a good answer. I was 23, 24 years old at the time and didn't have a good answer. So over the years, I was like, how can we create ways to make practice fun, make meetings fun, and just bring a lot of good vibes to the defense, because you want to go play that way.
100%.
And, hey, one of us make a play, all of us make a play, and that's what we say juice is about. And, that's how we run our meetings as well. So tell Jack I missed the power hour, by the way.
Okay, what do you got?
Coach, as we're, approaching the first game, Norfolk State,
fans see this as an FCS school. We want to win. They write it off in the board as a W. How do you approach the FBS competition versus the FCS competition? Make sure the guys are locked in.
Well, I just told our guys the other day, hey, I've been on the other side of this thing. I was at the Citadel when we beat South Carolina. I was at the Citadel when we had Alabama 10-10 at half, and that was an Alabama team that had Jalen Hurts, Tua, all those NFL draft picks. And you better think that this is their biggest game of the year. This is one they've had circled. And to us, if we got to approach it like it's any other team on our schedule, and it's the most important game of the year because it's the next game, and the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. We've heard that a million times. And we got to pay attention to our details. We got to go practice, like urgency, intent, and get ready to win a football game. And if we'll do those things, it doesn't matter who we're playing August 31st, September 7th, we'll be prepared to play and play our best football and go out there and do what we need to win the games.
We've heard a lot about, obviously we think we know what we're going to get out of you guys. We at least have experience back. We have you back. The offense is a totally different story.
Yeah.
You've been the guy going against this new quarterback, these new receivers, the new offense, with John David Baker. Just talk about that. How has that been? And, what do you think? How do you think that's going to go this fall?
Yeah, I think, when I first got here, my first scrimmage was against Holton Ahlers. And I had to learn a lot of things the hard ways. You guys were an older defense.
Yeah.
You had your older offense. You guys had things grooving and going. Right now, it's kind of the other way around.
Opposite, yeah.
So I don't think, anytime we face the offense, I don't think necessarily it's a fair evaluation. But
Yeah.
I tell you what, I wouldn't want to get ready for those guys in a week. When you got 15 spring practices or
it's different.
a whole month of August to prepare for them, it's different. So far as if you only had a week to prepare for those guys, you better buckle up. I remember when we tried to my first game, it was a UCF. And it was the Josh Heupel offense, the Baylor-style offense. And just we thought we were prepared for that tempo and thought we were prepared for that speed, but looking back, there was no way you could effectively prepare for that. So I think that's what I see other defenses possibly struggling with our offense is just how do you prepare for it.
It's like the new world triple option.
That's literally it. That's exactly like the triple option, and obviously that was kind of Lenore Ryan, the Citadel, even Kennesaw State. That was our offense. So everybody struggled to prepare for our offense. Yep. Because they were triple option. It wasn't just because, a coach told me this a while back, my first year here. You may know what you're doing against Navy or against the triple option, but it's the fact you got to simulate that.
Yeah.
You got to simulate how to run the option or how to run reads or get an offensive lineman down the field to cut it. Now a team has to simulate our offense and how fast tempo they go, maybe the canyon splits or whatever it may be, and that can be tough for an opponent.
You've went against Jake Garcia now since spring and then through obviously camp. What about him do you think helped name him the starter? And then how successful do you see him being in this offense?
Yeah, I think we got two really good quarterbacks. I really do. And I know most people, if you got two, you don't have one, that kind of thing. And defensively, our rule is always, hey, rule number one, get to number two.
Yeah.
Get to the backup quarterback. If you get to him, you're going to have a good day.
Yeah.
I don't know that's the situation right now.
Good.
If you get past number one, you get to number two, you still got your hands full.
Good.
I think very highly of Caden and Jake both. I think they have a little bit different styles, but I think they're both very good players, can help us win football games. And I've said that from the get-go. And one day I'll think, hey, man, we can't stop him. He's on fire. And the next day it's the other guy. So it's went back and forth, and just very proud of those guys and the way they've kind of grabbed everybody's respect and attention in our program. And I think they're going to win us a lot of ball games down the stretch.
That's good to know. Earl, what do you got?
Yeah, we got a question on Twitter. Person basically started off with saying, why has no one hired away Harrell yet? With the way your defense played last year, the way I want to bring with that as a starter there and go into the question here is, how many schools offered a job to you in the offseason? What you don't have to list what names, but did you get a decent amount of offers in the offseason, and what were they like?
I think when you get to this level, how many jobs out there are better than East Carolina? I tell guys that all the time.
Amen.
You can be selective and picky about where you want to go play, coach, whatever it may be, work for another university, another program, but why leave a good thing? My family loves it here. I feel very comfortable here. I knew our guys coming back were really good players and a system we had. When you go start over somewhere new, that's a lot of work. That's a lot to change around, and a lot of things can go wrong. But when you have a good thing going, you better appreciate that. We work for, Chancellor Rogers is awesome. John Gilbert gives us everything we need to be successful, and Coach Houston has been really good to me over the years. Obviously, it goes way back, but there's a lot of positivity when it comes from working with somebody so long. Their expectations, their standards, and they become your expectations and your standards of how to run a program.
Coach, this schedule, obviously, the conference is different than even when I played. New teams have came in.
Yeah.
I've been vocal about I wish there was more local games and there's conferences with that. But we do play Liberty. We play App State.
Yeah.
Is there any other games like conference-wise that you're looking forward to this year?
I think I got buddies at Navy and Army, so that's kind of a little bit of you look forward to those just so you can just have some bragging rights there. UTSA, I think I'm a little bitter about that one from last year. I didn't think we played our best football when we were at UTSA and in that game. I just thought we made some mistakes defensively. Some of it was versus tempo, which I think we're prepared for now. FAU, I think that's a game you have them here on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
Will be big for us. And every game, I think you always as a coach your mindset's on the next one, which right now is Norfolk State.
Yeah.
After that it'll be ODU, but those Thursday night games are special.
Oh, they are.
Those night games. App State kind of crawls at me a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the Charlotte down there in Charlotte and down in Boone last year, and so those are the games you've lost over the years.
Yeah.
They kind of stick with you a little bit more. Or games that you have a buddy at. I think on the other coaching staff, you kind of want to make sure you get the best of those. So
for sure.
But most important right now is August 31st.
Let's go, Cade.
Yeah, as an offensive guy, I kind of want to take it more back into the football of it. Being offense, you always know what's going on. You always know the play. You have the advantage of the defense. And I always wonder, and always we're like, how do these defensive guys prepare for it? Like for the people out there, how do you, when you go against different offenses, how do you make sure you don't know what's coming at you all the time, but you kind of have a good idea? How do you approach that and making sure that, hey, it could be an RPO these days, kind of like the new triple option. How do you approach all these different new offenses that you scheme up against each week?
I was hoping, Cade, you would really say that you're like a diehard defensive guy at heart.
No, I'm not.
You just grew up in a quarterback body or something?
I played receiver in high school a little bit, but that was about it.
That was me. I kind of I didn't really have a body to play football at all. But I didn't have a good enough arm to play quarterback. I would rather be a quarterback, But mindset, I was kind of a defensive linebacker type guy.
Yeah.
And I think if you went on that side of the ball and just played really hard, you could find a spot. But no, defensively, I think it's all about, being sound in everything you do. Used to, we would sit back, be sound, every single, we wanted to defend every play and every single defense. Over the years, we've developed more of an attacking mindset, almost like you would as an offensive guy or fast breaking basketball. Hey, we're attacking, we're working the ball down the court, we're trying to go score. Well, defensively, we're trying to take the ball away every snap. We're trying to hit you for losses every snap. We're trying to get after your quarterback every snap. That's where we're going to create a lot of chaos for the offense. Some of those things, I think offenses, even though they may be different from week to week, there is a lot of copycat out there.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's, hey, we're going to run the Y cross or we're going to run A scissors or
Y cross.
Just the latch or whatever it may be. Hey, we have certain ways we're going to do it. Well, our guys pick up on those things or pick up on tips that help them play faster. I always tell those guys, you got to confirm it. But if you know what's coming, play the play. If a 7 ball's coming, run the 7.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to put you where the ball's going. So those are tips and things we get to our guys, and I think we can slow offenses down by pre-snap, post-snap movement, pressures, and then put the ball back in our court. Because the worst thing you want to do is just line up for an OC or a quarterback or an O-line and make it simple for them. As a quarterback, you probably enjoyed, hey, they show me one high, I know I'm getting one high. They show me two high, I'm getting two high.
That's when it gets easy.
That's when it gets easy.
Exactly.
But if they can change those looks up or make it look like one high and all of a sudden post-snap get to two high, then that makes you, process, focus, maybe slows you down a little bit, gives a defensive advantage. So that's what we try to do for our defensive players.
Schematically, you guys have the ability, and that's something I noticed, obviously right away, is you have the ability to move. You move a lot, first of all, and then you have the ability to literally blitz everyone and then drop 8 too. And I faced it versus Navy, and it was a pain to go up against. Like with you guys, obviously in practice, you don't get a full game plan and
right.
stuff like that. But game planning for it, you guys, honestly, schematically, it's like preparing for the triple option or the spread up tempo offense for the defense. So like when you were getting into coaching, like how did you learn this scheme? Like where did it come from, and then how did you kind of develop it?
Yeah, I think when we were at Lenore Ryan, we were just 4-man front quarters.
Yeah,
and had a few pressures here and there. When we got the Citadel, it was kind of the same. And that's kind of the first place we found out we better learn how to defend RPOs and quarterback run game and match numbers to numbers. There was a point there at Lenore Ryan we were good enough to, get away with some few things. And we got the Citadel, weren't quite there yet, and maybe paid the price in 2014. 2015, bounced back, just kind of tweaked some things a little bit, with the back fits, that kind of stuff. And then I think in 2017, Wofford, it was Wade Lang was the offense coordinator, who's now at Tusculum. He took advantage of, he knew where our people were going to be. He knew where our X's were going to go to be, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he took advantage of our fundamentals, and he got us. And so 2018, I said, that's not going to happen again. And I happened to turn on the TV one Friday night, and I saw Washington State and Alex Grinch moving around, stunting around, and beating the crap out of Southern Cal. And I'm like, you know what? If we're at the Citadel, and at Washington State, they probably have less talent than Southern Cal, but they beat them that night, and really because of the way they played defensively and post-snap, pre-snap movements, and visited with Grinch and just picked up some things and it's kind of morphed into where we are now. The trap pressures, just the fire zones, the man stuff we do, and 4-man front, 3-man front, quarters, 2 high, 1 high. I think if you're able to mix all that stuff in, you can give an offense a lot of different problems. But at the same time, you got to keep it simple for your players so they can go play fast.
100%. I've told people a lot before that, like, this offense, this scheme can win, but if you add it with great players, it's even more dangerous. And almost same with your scheme. It's like the scheme can win games, whether you have talent or not. But in your case, when we have the talent that we have this year, like, it's going to be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and I've said this, I think you'll see us be differently defensively this year because of the talent we have. I mean, we've got guys that can do things that we haven't had in the past.
Yeah.
You always, tweak. The NFL, you probably have a scheme. You're going to do that regardless because you're going to bring players in to fit your scheme. Here it's like, hey, we're going to find the best players we can find, which we have, and then you're going to build to their strengths. You're going to turn blitzes or coverages or pass rush into what they do best. Is it 4-man front? Is it 3-man front? Is it drop 8?
Yeah.
Is it trap? Is it quarters? Is it zone? Is it man? So you're going to do what kind of fits them the best and gives us the best chance to win ball games.
For sure, Cade.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the one thing we've talked about over and over is, I said I wasn't a defensive guy, but the one thing we're excited about, and I think everyone knows about and is excited about, is the defense this year. Off the seniority of people coming back, the pieces, and the schedule that we have, we think we can be pretty efficient in it. What are you excited about outside of that, about your defense you had, or just about the season overall?
One thing just kind of stands out to me is I think defensively we're more player-led now than in the past. I think early on, you mentioned early on, it was the coaches setting the tempo, the coaches bringing the energy, the coaches setting the standard. And you don't have to do that anymore. The players, those older players, there's a group of those guys, and they sit on the first 2 rows in those meetings.
Yeah.
They could tell you everything that I'm getting ready to say, in a meeting. We go out to the field for a walkthrough last week, and we go through the field zones. And we go through the shot zone, high red, low red, coming out, all those zones. And I told one of them, I said, you could have made the script. You knew everything that was going to. Now our 2s and 3s are getting there, but our older players, they know exactly what to expect. They know exactly the standard. They're a player-led locker room, player-led defense now. And that's what I'm most proud of. And that's kind of makes you sit back and just, smile a little bit and really enjoy it and enjoy what you do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Question from Twitter here. Going up against the new offense in practice, can you tell a difference between this year's offense and last year's offense, and how much of a difference is it?
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, it stresses you, and it stresses you every single play. From sideline to sideline, they stress you vertically and horizontally both, and then just the tempo adds a huge piece of that. And then I think the talent level. I see guys that can then stretch you vertically at receiver. They catch the ball. They can, the yak yards that they're there, and not just 1 or 2, but they got 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. The tight ends, really impressive. You better know what those guys are in this offense. We all know about our running backs. Those guys, Bond and Raji, those guys are special. Marlon Gunn added in there too, and then the quarterback situation. So, and as I mentioned before, you're not just talking about one, you're talking about two, and then you're talking about depth at all those positions. And I think the O-line's playing as good as they played all last year. So I think, certainly they stress us defensively day in and day out in some different ways. As I mentioned before, I don't think it's fair when the defense or the offense gets 15 days to verse each other. They're calling out our defense's blitzes or stunts, and we're calling out their plays or their giveaways. So that sometimes when you go against each other a little bit, it's unfair of the scrimmages there. But they certainly stressed us this offseason.
Coach, we've talked about the names and like the names that people already know that have been playing for a while. Who are some names on defensively and maybe even offense that people are going to hear a lot of this fall that maybe haven't yet?
As we've mentioned, all those guys have started and played. C.J. Mims is a young guy that's played a little bit for us, but I think he's playing really good football right now.
Let's go.
And he's a local kid, and I think he's going to have a big season for us. And Raheem Craig is a transfer from Louisville, who, if we were playing tomorrow, would start outside backer for us. And
he's pretty twitchy from the practices I've seen.
That same position Jeremy Lewis played last year. He's going to catch your attention. He's a different player than Jeremy Lewis, but he's going to catch your attention. And I feel really good about him and where we have him. Sam Dank is doing some different things for us, whether it's a package or whether it's outside backer as well. But those guys about. Zakai Barker had a really good spring game. And this offseason, just the way he is developed as a leader and commander of our defense and the way he runs that, just really proud of him right now. And I think he's really going to have a big season. I know he hasn't started a game. He's played limited snaps for us defensively, but just the way he goes about his business and the way he attacks things and the way he runs our defense, I feel really good. Devin King played some for us last year.
Yep.
He would start for us if we were playing tomorrow. And I'm excited about Devin. A lot of athleticism back there.
Yeah.
A guy that can run.
Let's go.
Him and Jordan Huff. Omar Rogers back again. So those are the guys that we all know about that played some for us. Young guys. I think you can see a KJ Merrill out there, a Jamarly Riddle. Those are two true freshmen that you may see at some point. Hopefully for Coach Harrell and my hair that I got left, not too early, because we all know that they're freshmen, but they're very talented and they can both run and make plays.
Earl, what do you got for them?
Yeah, looking back at last year with how the offense was run and the inefficiencies of it and how good the defense was there a need, like when you were playing defense last year, was there a feeling that like you guys had to be like pretty much perfect in order to keep the team in the game and things along those lines when the offense just wasn't working? Did you feel a need to be like perfect at times?
Yeah, I always say this, and in any situation, when you're calling defenses and you're up 21 points, it's easy to call defense. Probably the same for an offense. If you're up 21 points, it's probably the same to call plays for an offense. Anytime you're in a tight ball game, close situation, I think it could probably be, whether you're a DC, OC, you're a quarterback, you're a line, the game's on the line, and any mistake could cost you a game. I think it puts a little bit more pressure on everybody, and we got to just continue to kind of develop to those situations and become better play callers, better quarterbacks, better defenses, and make sure we come out on top in those situations.
I got to ask you about that. Looking back, signal calling and, being the quarterback, offensive schemes on the field. Sometimes during the game, you feel like you're siloed. And I don't know if you feel like this as a coach. I always felt like, and Holt might have felt the same way, we're siloed in the offensive game plan. Of course, we have to be. But during a game, I just feel like all I'm focused on is offense. We go to the bench.
Yeah.
All we're focused on is offense. And we don't really talk to you guys. But we do. We cheer you, dab each other up. But it's like, do you feel siloed sometimes during game days?
There's no doubt. I think you can get caught up in just your side of the ball or just your series or what you're doing. We've had games where we played awful on defense. The Marshall game in 2021, I guess.
That was crazy.
That was, for about 55 minutes there. It was crazy. It was miserable. And we finally got it stopped. And you got, but you were focused on what you were doing defensively, how you guys were performing, and really not the offense. I think sometimes when you're up top and the offense goes on a drive, you get a chance to kind of catch your breath and look up and see the success they're having. And I think you do need to see that at times because, for instance, we're a tempo team this year, and we get a chance to go 3 and out, put their defense right back on the field. That can play a huge role to how we're going to win the football game, keeping their defense on the field, keeping them tired, helping our offense be more successful. So I think, as a coordinator, especially a young coordinator, you may not get that, but the more experience you get, you kind of realize, like, hey, I need to see this whole picture. What's the swing of this game? And I think, as I develop as a coach, those are things I want to see more of a big picture, not just, hey, the brown ball on my side of the defense. I want to see big picture and how this thing's rolling and where I need to, change things up. Used to 3rd and 15, it was okay to let them have 10 yards. Well, that's 10 yards of field position you might lose too. So you got to keep that in mind. At the end of the half, it may not matter 10 yards. In the third quarter, when you need some field position to help the offensive out and set up a score, that could be a big play.
When you guys are up in the box, OC, DC, you guys are pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
Is there any communication ever in those tight game situations or like encouragement ever?
You mean in between my Diet Mountain Dews and Snicker bars?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what my players always, they give me a hard time. Say, Coach, you up there just drinking colas and eating Snickers and the Pepsis and drinking Gatorades and Red Bulls or something. I said, well, maybe a Red Bull every now and then. We roll up about 5 covered 0 pressures in a row,
you'll know.
It's Red Bull time. We've had some conversations, and it's been certain situations. Hey, Coach, I need you. This is 3 minutes before the half. We got so and so down. I need you to take care of the ball here and don't let them have it back because hey, we need some time to recover and get a plan together here at halftime. Or hey, we having a tough. It came up in the Marshall game, and me and DK looked at each other and said, hey, and Coach Houston at the same time, I said, hey, we need a surprise onside this or onside kick this because hey, we having a tough time stopping. Let's see what we can do here. So we all kind of collaborate and have those conversations, whether it's the 3 of us or just me and the OC, and just talking through scenarios and how the game is going, and that way we're all on the same page. And going into a game, those are things you talk about as a staff, as you talk about as coordinators, how you want to manage the game, how situations might come up, and you're playing to win. Coach Houston says that very early in the week. We go through it throughout the week, and then it comes up in the game. We kind of look at each other, hey, this is going our way, or we got them right here, or we need to adjust here and make some adjustments there. So it certainly comes up.
Coach, this is an RPO world now, and you talked about it a little bit. How has that changed your philosophy and your mindset? Like, how do you game prep that? Because it's literally you got to prepare for 2 plays in one and cover both plays. Like, how hard is that as a defensive coach? I always thought it was literally impossible.
Yeah, especially that sassy you guys always ran.
That is.
I still call it sassy.
I love it. That was my go-to RPO. So yeah,
that is that's the ultimate. Like, you got to find ways to defend it.
Yeah.
And I always said this, like, if we're playing basketball, we don't want to play 3-on-2 basketball if we're on defense.
Yep.
Then you're probably going to score. We want to go 3 for 3. So we just try to match numbers. And that's really, if you think about playing the option, you're playing Navy, Army, you're making sure you have somebody responsible for the pitch, the dive, and the quarterback. Yeah. Well, it's no different than the RPO world. Now if you get a guy that's on the sassy and, he's Tyler Snead and you can't cover him with one guy, you better get him some help. Or if it's a backside RPO, how are you going to defend that? How are you going to give that guy help? So we always talk about those type of things and how we can help a corner out or safety out and give them a little bit of body presence, but yet, fall back into the dive. It used to be stop the run, stop the run.
Can't now.
Now I tell my guys, hey, protect the RPO, let them hand the ball off, come tackle it for 2 yards. It's 2nd and 8.
Yeah.
So that philosophy has obviously changed a little bit over the years. And everybody wants to be so RPO and quarterbacks and, OCs, they'd rather throw a 5-yard hitch than they would, hand the ball off. So I think that's where you got to start.
As a former quarterback, like, obviously, like, it's a chess game especially early on in the game, especially early in the season, because you watch film, you know what they're going to show, especially early on. And then the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterback, like, it's a chess game to see, okay, what are they going to show? What are they going to do? Are they going to disguise? How much does that go into your game plan?
100%. I don't think, if we roll out there and have the same scheme, same philosophy every week, I think offenses can take advantage of it. The coaches, coaches are too good in this league. The players, you have too much respect for those. The quarterbacks, I mean, we see some dang good quarterbacks, so you got to respect those guys. So you better certainly mix it up about how you're playing things. You have your base way to do things and your base way to get away with it, but you also better have some wrinkles in there to throw at them and change those looks up.
Coach, you talked about the quarterbacks and, like, facing maybe a young quarterback versus an older quarterback. Like, How does that go into the game plan too? Like, do you want to heat up the younger guys and put pressure on them early, make them prove themselves, or like, does that go into it as well?
Think about Seth Hennigan right now at Memphis. He's going into, I don't know, probably year 8 for him, probably about your age, Holden. But he's a guy, like, you better be, like, give him different looks. You better be sound in your looks. You better be able to play zone, man, mix it up sometimes. And I think you remember Matt Sims, who was our analyst, who was a quarterbacks guy in the league. I'd always want to play some man. He'd be like, well, man's the simplest thing for a quarterback.
Absolutely. I love man.
You play man. I mean, you made it easy for the quarterback.
You got to make a decision. You just pick your best receiver.
That's it. And especially a young quarterback. A young quarterback, that can be tough. If you're making it easy for him playing man, but you can mix some zone in there or, some bracket stuff in there. Now he's got to bite the ball a little bit. It gives your D-line time to get home as well.
Yeah. Earl, what do you got?
Question from the Twitter universe here. Who's the best player you've ever, a defensive player you've coached?
Oh, are we calling it Twitter now? Or are we calling it the X now?
Twitter.
It's Twitter. It'll always be Twitter. I'm sorry,
calling it Twitter and tweets and Twitter, whatever. It just, I saw somebody calling it the X the other day. I was like, what are we doing?
You can't.
I don't know. I'm still. We bringing back MySpace yet? The best defensive player. We've been blessed to be around a lot of good ones. Devontae Delaney, we had at the Citadel, still playing in the league. Doing really good. J Max, obviously in that conversation. He's been outstanding. Julius Wood is having a really good preseason with the Cowboys, and all those guys are different. They're all different in their own way. Noah Dawkins is a linebacker we had at the Citadel who's still playing the UFL league or whatever it was up until last year. And I think some guys we're currently coaching can be in that same category. So I hate to single one out. There's a couple kids at Kennesaw State. Travis Bell's playing with the Bengals. So all those guys are good ones. So some of the ones that really stand out to me are the guys we had. Lenore Ryan that didn't play, in the NFL. We had a linebacker there. He's in the Hall of Fame now, All-American there. Who was a really good player and just a hard-nosed, old-school football player, just kind of a throwback. We had a safety there, and I always say this. We had a safety there. He was actually from Camden County, which is where Jamali Riddle's from. He played for us there, and I promise he could play anywhere I've coached. He's still playing in the Arena League. He's like 33, 34 years old. I think he's a coach. He's a manager and a player. But everywhere I've been, he could play. He just wasn't that 4'4" kid. He was probably a 4'7", but ball skills and just a knack for the game, he had it. So been blessed to be around a lot of good ones. Obviously, if you're around a lot of bad ones, you probably don't coach long. So, we've had a lot of good players, and I certainly think we have some good players on our football team right now, and that's what makes this thing fun.
Because this is a new world now with NIL and transfer portal. Like, it's growing literally every year. Even I was there 2 years ago. I feel like it's way different now.
1,000%.
How do you change? Have you changed your coaching philosophy? How you approach guys? How you recruit? Like, how has it changed you as a coach adapting to the new world of college football?
Yeah, I think throughout your coaching career, you change and you evolve. Schematically or your style of coaching. My coaching style is not the same as today as it was 10 years ago.
Yep.
It's certainly changed. And I think the NIL and the transfer portal even changes that as well. And I think it goes back to like a couple words. One's respect. Each individual wants to know they're respected. I want to know that from my superiors, I'm respected. I want to know from our fans, I'm respected. And then it comes to love too. I think like if you care about somebody and you respect people, then if you make a decision to move on or you make a decision that you want to do, like we had that respect for each other.
Yep.
And I think, I got asked this question last fall, like when are you going to start recruiting your players? Like, I think that starts from day one. You start making a connection to a young man as a high school player. You start finding a connection to him. You start caring about him. You start growing respect for him. You start loving him, and same for you. So you have that relationship.
Yep.
So that, hey, if it comes time for the portal window to open, you have a great relationship. Hey, you have to move forward and see what's best for you, what's best for his program or your program, and best for that individual at the same time. So, yes, it's changing, but I think the thing comes down back to me is that relationship and love and respect for each other.
Sure.
You talk about change, and change is inevitable all the time. And you mentioned change in NIL, but you may also mention change and just scheme as a coach. a lot of that change comes with like mentorship. So who are some of your mentors through your coaching career, some of your mentors that you look at, or coaches today that you might not even know that you just look at and like, oh, I like that scheme, like see some of their fundamentals.
So I grew up in a small town, Caden, like small town, 3 siblings, 2 younger brothers, younger sister, and single mom for most part of my life. She had a small gas station. I was pumping gas when I was 9 years old at that gas station. So that kind of developed like who I was as a person.
Yep.
Went to high school, was a 3-sport athlete, played football, basketball, baseball. I know I look exactly like a basketball player. And one of my high school coaches was a guy named Jeff Collins, who's at the head, the DC up the road here that we won't mention. But some of the things, the energy he had when I was a high school player, made me want to get into coaching. Made me enjoy what he was doing, and made me like really brought that out in me, and just kind of followed him throughout the years. And then when I was first as a young college coach, I was at Lenore Ryan, and a guy named Fred Goldsmith, who was a Bobby Dodd Award winner, was the head coach at Rice, the head coach at Duke.
Yep.
Won a national championship at FAMU. Just mentored me and taught me like about how to treat people. Whether it was other coaches, players, or the janitor, or the lunchroom lady, whoever it may be, and just having respect for all those folks. And then I've been fortunate enough to be around people like Mike Houston, Brian Bohannon, and learned so many different things from those guys. From Brian Bohannon, it was how to hold a standard, and what matters, and how you can still take time to your family, but hold a standard and be accountable at work. Coach Houston, as Holton knows, it's how to run a program and how to motivate players and so many things. So just been blessed at time to take a little bit from every different walk in my life to really build, the coach I want to be and the man I want to be and the mentor I want to be for our players.
Coach, appreciate you joining. I know you're busy right now. The fans have been begging for you. I mean, we're pumped about the defense, the whole season, but obviously defense. So appreciate you joining, man.
Well, hey, I'm just honored to be on here. The only thing that would make this more complete if we had Jack. I feel like really I was here, but the fact I get you guys and get to be a part of this, and just really proud of what you guys are doing, and really am. Just and the fact you get to do it here in Greenville, in Pirate Nation.
Yeah.
I mean, what better place could you ask to do that for?
We love it. Exactly. So stay along longer than just after this year. I know we're gonna have some offers, so keep sticking around for us.
Will do. I plan on it.
Appreciate you, Coach. That interview is brought to you by Anson Belts. Over 10,000 combinations of micro-adjustable holeless belts. Mix and match the buckle and the belt. Pirate belt, Jolly Roger. It's huge. Football season's coming. Coach Houston will be wearing it on game day. Caden, you're a big fan of Anson Belt as well.
Huge fan. Favorite thing I like, you already mentioned it, the micro adjustables. Worst thing that ever happened, you gain a little bit of winter weight that's coming, and the belt's too tight. It's your belly's hanging over. We all have the issue. Don't say you don't. But with Anson, you never do. The micro adjustables, perfect.
And I want to give a shout out to Clean Eats. Most of their meals are under $8. Look, go in, get a shake. They got frozen meals made to order or meal prep. I did a lot of that in college. When I was playing my best, I was on their meal plans. I can never remember I know where it's at, but I can't remember the road. Earl, where's Clean Eats located?
It's on Arlington Village off of Red Banks Road.
Bang. Let's go. Clean Eats. Boys, how did you think the interview with Coach Harrell went? I love talking to people who are very smart football-wise. Like, I felt the same way after the John David Baker interview, to be able to sit there and talk X's and O's, drop in 8, trap coverage, cover 4, all these different coverages. What did you guys think about it?
Well, first, I always forget, like I mentioned on the interview with him, is how siloed the offense and defense is. So Coach Harrell, we know each other, but we never had that in-depth interaction. And I guess over the years, how siloed we are, because it's offense versus defense and a team-wise, I always forget how personal he is, how just good of a person he is. And I know it sounds corny, but I can really see now, again, reminding me why his guys play for him so hard, why the defense loves him. And that's how you get, you can recruit top talent. We've played with under coaches that can recruit, but if the players don't commit and they can't relate to you, at the end of the day, you just might not get the best performance. So I love the energy he brought, love the excitement, and just love the personality he has as a person.
He's going to be a great head coach one day. Shall I say it?
Yeah,
Look,
no
his
doubt.
scheme, and we talked about it a little bit there. I didn't want to disrespect him. I don't think it is. I think it's honestly a compliment to him. His scheme is built to win games without talent. And when you combine that with talent, it's very, very good, as we saw last year and hopefully we see this year. And he's charismatic. He understands players. He understands. He's talking about love and respect. Like coaches that say love, like that's not very common anymore. You would think it would be, and some coaches may throw it out there. Like I know he was talking about Jack. Like Jack still talks to him, and he still talks to Jack. Like he talks to his former players who aren't playing in the league. So like, I think he's going to be a great head coach one day. We've talked about it before. Or Earl, what was your take on it as like a fan? Me and Kate have seen it as a coach. What was yours as a fan?
Yeah, I like that he keeps talking up the defense, and he also gave some credit to the offense that it's kind of like coming along and how the new offense is starting to test his defense more with the tempo and things along those lines, where he was mentioning back with his days with like Lenore Ryan and with the Citadel how sometimes his defense weren't ready for some offenses. With this type of offense, he's going to be ready for more different type of things, whether it's tempo or things along those lines. So I like how he's continuing to talk up, especially specific players that he was mentioning in there. Like we know that the defense is going to be talented because it was good last year, and we have a lot of returning guys this year. I like that he's talking them up, and then also kind of hinting at this offense is kind of stressful to be a defensive coordinator for. So that was kind of promising as well, especially hearing that the offense is improving from a defensive guy.
I think that also on top of the promising parts you mentioned was we all know the defense was going to be good. It's the highlight that we've all looked at this entire season. It's the one thing that we think we at least know as fans and outside observers now that, hey, this should be pretty solid. But what I really put the cherry on top of that for me was him saying, the players are leading the practices. Not only is that the first string players, it's trickling down to the 2s and 3s. So when you start building a program like that, that's an extent. It's an extra extended arm of the coaching staff. When the coaching staff isn't there, you're having players run it and really hitting the core fundamentals of especially that defense is going to be.
It reminds me a lot of if Donnie sat right there and talked about my senior year, about just like when Donnie came in, he didn't recruit us, but we were all young, and then we just kind of played through and eventually knew the scheme. And by my senior year, like we'd been there 3-4 years, some 5 years, and like I feel like that's how he feels now. Coach Harrell feels now is like those D linemen that are there, were there with him from the start that he didn't maybe recruit.
I played with a couple of those guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they have been there and they've grown. They understand the scheme, understand the system, to where it's like so comfortable that, like he said, they could go out there and run the practices. And that's how I felt my senior year with offense was like. In defensively too, like Miles Berry, Xavier Smith, like those guys were there a while, but they didn't have that long with Coach Harrell. So like that's where like the difference was like we had a really long time with Coach K, and I feel like that's where Coach Harrell is sitting now. Is like these players have been with him. They feel like his players. Even he might not even recruited some of them, but they feel like these players because they were the ones that dove into the program. He invested time. They invested. Okay, we're gonna trust this guy because look. That scheme isn't just a normal scheme. We went from running with Bob Trott when he was here, which some of those players actually were on that staff, or at least got recruited by Bob Trott. He was running 4 down, cover 4 freaking blindly pretty much. And then Coach Harrell comes in and he talked about it. You can run, drop 8. You can blitz 8. Like that same defense is the defense that Navy ran. They come from the same coaching tree. It is a pain to follow. I've always said I would love to go coach high school football and be a defense coordinator and run that defense because as a quarterback, I faced every defense ever in college. Every single year you play Navy, it's tough, and it's literally like playing the triple option on offense.
Yeah, it's just the aggressiveness of it. And what, like you mentioned before, and we mentioned over and over during that interview, is you don't need the talent. Navy doesn't have the talent. They don't recruit. They're not able to recruit talent. But now we have the talent. We have the seniority. I don't know if that's the right definition for the team we have this year. But we have the guys who have been here for a while. We have the talent. I'm excited, and I'm even more excited. He shouted out the offense. He thinks we have 2 great quarterbacks still. Like if one goes down, we have another guy. So it even made me feel better about the offense situation. I don't know. Did that make you feel better?
I don't know, man. I'm excited about it. We haven't lively talked about Jake Garcia being named the starter, and we went to practices. I said it last week. I was like, look, do not be surprised if Jake Garcia gets named the starter. And that is from who we've talked to within the program. He has a swagger to him. We saw him in practice. We saw him in some scrimmages. He just has a little swagger to him that you're like, you know what? You went 2-10 last year. Your offense needs some life. Let's play that guy. Let's play the gunslinger. And Coach Houston sat in this chair that I'm sitting in right now and was like, He's the gunslinger. And that's what we kept hearing. Big Tay said the gunslinger. Got excited. It's like, okay, when we ask about these two, like, it's like they almost perked up when they talked about Garcia. So I'm excited for it. It just scares me a little bit. Look, we have an OC that's never called plays before. We have a quarterback who's hasn't played in over a year, hasn't played in ECU uniform, hasn't ran this offense in a game before. We have receivers. Our best receivers hurt right now. And then we have other receivers who haven't played much here or haven't played here at all. In the O-line, every time we talked about it, they're excited about them because they're, an older group. And I love those guys to death. But it's like, that's the big question mark. And that's a massive question mark to me. And I would say it's nothing bad against them. It's just every year at ECU, it's going to be a question mark. You're not going to go get the guys that are going to the Big Ten. You're just not. And then running backs, you know what you're going to get out of the running backs, I think. Now, Javius Bond, I think, has a tremendous upside, and hopefully Rajay's back to his younger form. But, like, out of that offense, you're looking at it, you're like, okay, we think we know we're going to get out of the running backs.
I think the running back's pretty solid.
I'm not trashing. I'm just saying we know what we're going to get out of them.
If I had to put a check mark, I would check mark off.
Yeah.
The running
okay,
backs.
and then it's like, okay, what do you truly know what you're going to get out of the rest of the offense? The offensive line, do you know what you're going to get? The quarterbacks, do you know what you're going to get? The receivers, do you know what you're going to get? The OC, do you know what you're going to get?
Great call out. And I think, they've been practicing the same defense for the last how many weeks now, right?
Yeah.
I think defensively, I think Norfolk State this year is a great starting game because
100%.
It gives you your feet wet, gives you some offensive experience for the coordinator, gives you offensive experience for the quarterbacks who both of them play one plays. But it's like, all right, this is the best thing we could go week one. It's let people get settled in. We have a defense that should hold us in that game no matter how poorly the offense plays. I don't think Norfolk State should score more than 10 points.
No, and look, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to have bad offense, we're going to have a bad year. I'm just saying, like, I am being a little bit cautious until I go out there and see it just because of that point.
And I think it was a great start.
We're going to have a defense that can win a championship. We're going to have a defense that hopefully can keep you in every game. I think schematically, this offense should win games. And hopefully we have the talent, and I think we have the talent. I just haven't seen them play here, so I don't know. Like, I've heard that we have the talent. They did good at their previous schools, but, like, this new world of college football, you just don't know literally until you see it.
Yeah. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid. I know we only checked one box in the position group, but Coach Harrell, I know he's a coach. I know sometimes Coach give you a propaganda fluff. They do. I love Coach Harrell. Love Coach Houston. I wasn't buying that as fluff when he said the offensive line, when he said the quarterbacks, when he said the receivers.
No, me neither.
No, I know what you mean. You have to see it. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I didn't take him as fluff right there if that was fluff, he's a great salesman, and I'm gonna buy what he's selling. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid there because I what he said, I think we have a solid offensive line. I can't check mark it, and you can't check mark it yet because we haven't seen it. But he gave me the confidence to believe it for week one.
For sure. And we'll give our full preview next week. We're going to go full in-depth, hour-long, each game predictions, who we think is going to be good. Heisman Trophy, we're going to put our odds in on that, who we think is going to win the Heisman. So college football next week, it's going to be the Thursday. We're going to release it right before week one of college football. So that's going to be a really exciting episode, obviously. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to Worth Chiropractic. 2 convenient locations on Arlington Boulevard. Look, every day back in neck pain, I started working remote. My neck hurts all the time. I'm not gonna lie. I need to go to Dr. Worth so he can crack my neck. But make sure you go to him 1-800-BACK-DOC today. Call Dr. Worth. He will get you back to being you. Also, want to give a shout out to Wayne Hardy Law. 1-800-INJURED. Look, when you get in a car accident, you're a popular person. Lawyers, insurance, everyone reaches out to you. Make sure you make the call, 1-800-INJURED to Wayne Hardy Law. They would treat you like family. That's the Wayne Hardy difference. Next, want to give a shout out to Mattamuskeet Goose Club. The shirts were a popular hit. We're going to have to give some more away. They're sending us more right now. I had a few people reach out to me about that, so they are out in the mail right now. So shout out to those guys for supporting the pod. Next week's going to be a fun one. The season's upon us. We're going to have some film review. We're going to be posting more stuff on our X at Holt Ehlers Show. 5th quarter call-in show, Caden, is right around the corner. It's going to be a blast. I'm pumped.
I'm excited. We'll see. I watched it so many years after I stopped playing football. I liked it. I'm privileged to be on it. Looking forward to the crazy calls, the fun calls, the serious calls. It doesn't matter. All the calls I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it just because I get to talk X's and O's, and like I love that. We both love that. It's like just chatting here, like with Coach Harrell, like when he finished up, and it's just like, dude, we could sit here and talk ball all day, and like that's something that I'm excited to do because, like, look, fans, there's gonna be fans who call in who aren't correct, and we're gonna straight up tell them like this is the people's show, the Holt Naylor show is, and I've said that from the beginning. We're gonna keep it and shoot it straight with you guys. We're not changing anything when we go on fifth quarter call-in show. We're going to keep it straight. We're going to be brutally honest, whether that's good or bad. I will say I'm never leaving Coach Houston's side. I think he's a great coach, no matter how the season goes. But we'll just have to see.
I'll keep it honest, guys. But one thing I'm excited about is the emotion of it, because we're going to come off the game with them. So if it's a bad game, close loss, hopefully there's 0 losses this year, we're going to feel it too. So I'm excited to feel the emotion with a broader group of people, because a lot of times the past couple of years I just felt it with you or in my own house. So I'm excited to feel it with a group of people this time.
Next week, college football is back. This week, really, with week 0, week 1's the real week.
You're
so
not looking forward to anything?
No, I am, but we'll dive into like gambling and that side of it, and our best bets, our Heisman Trophy winner, betting odds for ECU and stuff like that next week. So full hour episode next week. Maybe even longer than an hour episode. The boys are going to be excited. Look, this whole show was built around football. We're not going to act like it wasn't. Football, you can talk year round, but college football, there's excitement about it. We obviously played. A lot of our fans are ECU fans. So, like, we got a lot of really exciting segments coming. Make sure you tune in next week. But also, keep supporting us on X. We're going to keep posting stuff on there. We'll see you next week.